All right, welcome to the Explainer. You see these giant numbers in AI headlines all the time, right? Billions, trillions. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and figure out what a number like 1 trillion actually means when we're talking about how powerful an AI is. So let's just start with the number itself, 1 trillion. It's been popping up everywhere lately, and honestly, it's a number so huge it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. But, in the world of AI, this isn't just some random abstract number. It's become the new benchmark. It's basically the price of admission to a super exclusive club, the club of the most powerful AI models ever built. And what's fascinating is that this isn't just a Silicon Valley thing. It is a full-on global race. You're seeing models from companies all over the world, like Moonshot AI, Huawei, China Telecom. They're all hitting this massive trillion-parameter milestone. Okay, but this all begs the bigger question, right? What in the world is a parameter? And why do we even care if a model has a billion of them or a trillion? It's a great question. Let's really dig into it. All right, so first up, you've got what are called trainable parameters. The easiest way to think about these is like the internal wiring of an AI's brain. These are the millions or billions or now trillions of tiny little tuning knobs, we call them weights and biases, that the model adjusts all by itself while it's training. This is literally where all its knowledge gets stored. Then, on the flip side, you have hyperparameters. Now, these are totally different. These are the external controls. They're the settings that we, the humans, get to set. Think of them as the big dials on the outside of the machine. They set the rules of the road for the AI. Things like how it's structured, how it learns, and even how it acts when you give it a prompt. So here's the key takeaway, the big difference. Trainable parameters, that's the AI's internal brain power, the stuff it learns from data. Hyperparameters, those are the external controls that we humans set. One is what the AI figures out on its own, the other is the rulebook we give it to follow. Simple as that. Okay, so now that we know what a parameter is, let's put that 1 trillion number into perspective. Because honestly, to really get how big of a deal this is, you have to see where we've just come from. And it's happened so fast. Yeah, this chart just lays it out perfectly. It's a total explosion in scale. I mean, just a few years ago, a model like Mistral with 7 billion parameters was a big deal. Super efficient, super capable. Then GPT-3 comes along with 175 billion, and we all thought, whoa, that's massive. And now we're talking about models that are 5-6 times bigger than that. The jump is just staggering. But, and this is a huge but, there's a giant asterisk next to that 1 trillion parameter number. Because, as it turns out, not all of those parameters are created equal. And more importantly, they aren't all being used at the same time. Which brings us to probably the most important question in this entire conversation. Does bigger automatically mean better? Is a 1 trillion parameter model really 10 times more powerful or 10 times smarter than a model with 100 billion? It seems like it should be, right? Well, the answer is not necessarily. And it all comes down to some really clever engineering. See, in older, dense models, the AI used its entire brain, every single parameter, for every single task. It was kind of inefficient. But now, with sparse models, or what's called a mixture of experts, it's totally different. Think of it like a team of specialists. When a problem comes in, the model doesn't call everyone. It just routes the problem to the handful of experts best suited for that specific job. And this right here is the secret sauce. Take a look at a model like Kimi K2. The headline number is 1 trillion parameters, right? But at any given moment, for any given question, it's only using about 32 billion of them. Same story with Databricks DBRX, 132 billion total, but only 36 billion are active. This whole mixture of experts thing is a game changer. It lets the model have this enormous library of knowledge, but without the insane cost of firing up the whole library for every single query. So, okay, that's a lot of technical stuff. Why should you care? Well, here's where it gets really practical. Because some of those parameters, specifically the hyperparameters we talked about, are actually knobs you can turn yourself to control how the AI responds. You can literally think of it like a remote control for the AI's personality. And probably the most important, most powerful button on that remote is a little setting called temperature. If you set the temperature low, say down to 0.2, you get the focused librarian. The AI's answers will be super factual, very precise, very predictable. This is perfect if you're, summarizing a report. But if you crank that temperature way up to like 0.9, you get the brainstorming artist. The AI gets more creative, more surprising, more diverse. It's exactly what you want if you're trying to brainstorm ideas for a story or something. So here is how it all comes together. First, you type in your prompt. Then, the model's deep internal network, all those learned parameters, generates a whole bunch of possible ways to respond. And finally, the hyperparameters that you control, like temperature, act like a filter. They sift through all those options and pick the ones that end up in the final answer you see. It's a pretty cool process. And temperature is just the beginning. There are other knobs you can turn too. You can control how long or short the response is. You can get really specific about how random its word choices are. You can even tell it, hey, stop repeating yourself. You get a surprising amount of control. So from now on, when you see a headline that screams about some new AI with a mind-boggling number of parameters, you'll know what's really going on. You'll know the crucial question isn't just how many. The real question is, how are they being used? The race for bigger and bigger models is definitely on. But the future? Well, the future might be less about having the most parameters and more about having the smartest ones.